On the 20th of October, this Arabic language website reported that the Saudi crown prince had been forced out of power, a result, it said, of Jamal Khashoggi's disappearance. It was fake news. Mohammed bin Salman remains in his position, and this, as Reuters' Jack Stubbs has found, is one example of a fierce information war being waged online after the killing of Khashoggi, a prominent critic of the Saudi government, last seen entering Riyadh's consulate in Istanbul last month.
Yeah, I think this with the Khashoggi case, and it's not the first time we've seen this, it's the same allegedly in the US election, allegedly around Brexit, and lots of other hot political sensitive issues where you see people on all sides piling in and using these, developing techniques to manipulate information online and to try and manipulate the way what people are thinking and feeling, and in some cases even the way they're acting.
Automated accounts known as bots have flooded social media in recent weeks, many of them promoting messages which support Saudi Arabia, intended to cast doubt on allegations that the kingdom was involved in Khashoggi's death.
So one of the latest examples of that is this network of fake news websites which we found. We found at least 53 different websites which purport to be Arabic language news sites, and we can prove that actually they're all interconnected and not independent. They all trace back to the same group of people or person.
All bar 3 of the websites have now been taken down, and Twitter says it's recently removed many accounts originating in the Gulf region. But archived copies provide an insight into the network's aims: to undermine the official Saudi version of events and spread confusion around its government.
Indonesian divers say they've found the black box from the doomed Lion Airjet that crashed into the sea this week. Officials hope the data retrieved will help provide answers as to why the nearly new plane went down, killing all 189 people on board. Ground staff lost contact with the flight just 13 minutes after the Boeing aircraft took off on Monday. Indonesian transport officials say the plane had technical problems on its previous flight on Sunday, including unreliable readings of its airspeed. No distress signal was received before Monday's crash, but the pilot had asked to return to base after takeoff. Investigators are trying to determine why. Only small pieces of the aircraft have been retrieved so far, along with personal items believed to have belonged to passengers. An underwater drone has detected an object suspected to be part of the main body of the aircraft, where most of the victims are expected to be found.
President Donald Trump unveiling an inflammatory anti-immigrant campaign ad ahead of next week's midterm elections, drawing condemnation as the most racially charged ad in 30 years. Trump releasing the ad on Twitter, painting Central American migrants seeking asylum as criminals and claiming Democrats want to let cop killers into the country. The ad features an illegal immigrant who is convicted of killing 2 law enforcement officials in California. Trump blaming Democrats, even though the killer had been deported twice under both Democratic and Republican administrations. The ad quickly denounced as wildly inaccurate by Democrats and Republicans. Republican Senator Jeff Flake called it, quote, a new low in campaigning. Democratic National Committee Chairman Tom Perez calling it, quote, dog whistle politics based on fear-mongering on CNN. Former Florida Republican Party Chairman Al Cardenas, a Cuban immigrant, telling Trump the ad will, quote, condemn you and your bigoted legacy forever.
Hello, Florida.
The explosive ad coming as Trump ramps up his attacks on immigration ahead of next Tuesday's election, painting a caravan of migrants as a security threat, even though they are months away from the U.S. border.
And they got a lot of rough people in those caravans.
Saying he'll send up to 15,000 troops to back up the Border Patrol. And still insisting he may try to use an executive order to end birthright citizenship, which is guaranteed under the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. The ad stirring up memories of one of the most notorious campaign ads ever, the Willie Horton ad of 1988, playing on white fears of black crime. Run by backers of Republican presidential candidate George H.W. Bush, blaming Democratic rival Michael Dukakis for a crime spree by a convicted killer out on furlough.
Horton fled, kidnapped a young couple, stabbing the man and repeatedly raping his girlfriend.
Trump has been whipping up his supporters as Republicans try to hang on to Congress. Polls showing the House of Representatives likely to flip to Democratic control.
O governo Jair Bolsonaro, the incoming hard-right president of Brazil, has a track record of hate speech against gays, women, and minorities. He's been a polarizing figure whose recent victory sparked massive protests within his own country. And on Thursday, he was praised by U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton.
The recent elections of like-minded leaders in key countries, including Ivan Duque in Colombia and last weekend Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, are positive signs for the future of the region and demonstrate a growing regional commitment to free market principles and open, transparent, and accountable governance.
A like-minded leader. Bolsonaro praised a 20-year military dictatorship in Brazil, said he would not be able to love a gay son, and once pushed a congresswoman and told her, quote, "I would never rape you because you do not deserve it." Bolton's praise came in a speech in which he promised a tough stance by the Trump administration toward, quote, "dictators and despots near our shores," and he saved his harshest criticism for the socialists.
This troika of tyranny, this triangle of terror stretching from Havana to Caracas to Managua, is the cause of immense human suffering, the impetus of enormous regional instability, and the genesis of a sordid cradle of communism in the Western Hemisphere.
The speech in Miami comes just days before close elections in Florida, which is home to a large Hispanic population that favors stronger pressure on leftist governments in Latin America. A former spokesman for the National Security Council under Obama called Bolton's praise for Bolsonaro, quote, "terrifying." It puts the U.S. on the side of racism, misogyny, homophobia, and an aspiring autocrat.
From Tokyo to New York to San Francisco, over 1,000 Google employees walked off the job Thursday, united in one mission.
Support women and to protest the way that this company has handled sexual harassment cases.
In New York, protesters carried signs, while in San Francisco, organizers took the mic to address the crowds. Reuters' Jane Lee was there.
Media have been strictly limited from the campus, so most of us are standing on the other side of the road here in front of the Google headquarters. Hundreds of Google employees have been streaming in to the courtyard here between the colorful Google buildings here in the headquarters of Mountain View. They're chanting, "Women's rights are workers' rights. Time is up. Time is up."
The protests, part of a campaign dubbed Google Walkouts for Real Change, that unfolded a week after an explosive New York Times report detailed allegations of sexual misconduct against top executives at the company, including the creator of the Android phone software, who was given a $90 million exit package. Shortly after the report was published, Google revealed that 48 people had been fired in the past 2 years over sexual misconduct allegations.
Time's up.
Thursday's protest includes a list of 5 demands by staff. The first, a call to end forced arbitration in cases of harassment and discrimination, a move that would make it possible for victims to sue.
This is Volvo striking a deal with the Google of China, the Swedish automaker tying up with Baidu to develop driverless taxis. The deal sets up a battle between Baidu and the actual Google. The US search giant has its own driverless cars program in partnership with Fiat Chrysler and others. Baidu has the resources to go head-to-head. Reuters China technology correspondent Kate Cadell was at Thursday's deal announcement in Beijing.
And this is the kind of technology that Google's sort of already working with and already testing in the US without drivers. So while they haven't really given us a timeline, the president of Baidu said they want to get to volume very soon.
Volvo already had a deal with Uber to supply 24,000 driverless cars from next year. This is its vision of what autonomous vehicles might look like. But Reuters sources say the Uber deal is in doubt. That makes the Baidu agreement a bit of a coup.